The world of tech may excite many, but it can also confuse many. You may be raring to break into this industry, but what exactly are your options to do this? How do traineeships build your competency? And if so, what exactly does a PowerX trainee learn? From technical to soft skills, our speakers tonight will be shedding some light on how you can make a successful career switch with PowerX. Welcome everyone, I'm Trainee. I'm the moderator for the session tonight. This evening, our speakers are Shin, the Senior Assistant Director of the Ecosystem Development in CSA, Keith Ang, a PowerX software and product development trainee with LionsBot International, Kelson Ho, a PowerX cybersecurity trainee with Attila Cybertech, and David Ong, the founder and CEO of Attila Cybertech. Tonight, they will be sharing with you your opportunities in tech and how traineeship builds your competency as a tech talent through our mentorship and development plans. Our trainees will also offer you their perspectives on their journey in making a career switch into tech and a glimpse at the work they do. Lastly, we will be having a short Q&A session, so remember to leave your questions in the chat. More information will also be available via our fact links in our chat section, and you can always reach out to us at PowerX at SGInnovate.com if you have any questions about the program. SGInnovate's talent programs aim to match talents with high potential deep tech startups in areas such as AI, cybersecurity, robotics, and more. Be it in the startup ecosystem or the larger tech industries, there's always going to be a high demand for talents to fill these roles. I'll now be passing on the time to our first speaker of tonight, Shin, who will share more about the tech talent trends and the opportunities for you. Over to you, Shin.
Hi, thanks, Rina. Hi, good evening, everyone. I am Shin from the Cybersecurity Agency of Singapore, CSA, and our team actually oversees the cybersecurity talent attraction and development in the ecosystem. We work very closely with various stakeholders such as SGInnovate, other government agencies, employers, academia, professional bodies, and communities. So first, I would like to thank SGInnovate for inviting me to share about the local cybersecurity workforce landscape, as well as also the opportunities for those who like to embark on a career in cybersecurity. So I just start off with an introduction on CSA first. In the next slide, so CSA was formed in 2015, and we've been given the task of protecting Singapore cyberspace. It is part of the Prime Minister's office and is managed by the Ministry of Communications and Information. Our mission is to keep our cyberspace safe and secure, to underpin our national security, power a digital economy, and also to protect our digital way of life, with the vision to build a trusted and resilient cyberspace that allows Singapore to capture the benefits of a more connected world. We've updated the cybersecurity strategy late last year, and it charts the next stage in Singapore's journey to become a more cyber resilient nation. We will actively defend our cyberspace, simplify cybersecurity for end users, and also promote the development of international cyber norms and standards. As the cybersecurity environment is evolving rapidly, implementing this strategy will require more individuals and enterprises to be equipped with cybersecurity knowledge and skills. On the talent piece, we are investing heavily to upskill practicing professionals and also to support individuals like yourself who are keen to pursue a career in cybersecurity. Thus, it's become a new foundation enabler in this strategy called the Grow a Robust Cyber Talent Pipeline. So the demand for cybersecurity professionals continue to rise. Next slide, please. So the demand for cybersecurity professionals continue to rise, and it's one of the fastest growing industry both in Singapore and globally. So based on the 2020 Infocom Media Development Authority, IMDA in short, the survey on the Infocom media manpower, the number of cybersecurity professionals in Singapore rose from 6,000 in 2018 to 10,000, over 10,000 in 2020. This is a positive development and reflection of the continued demand of the for the cybersecurity professionals amidst the economic uncertainty during the COVID-19 pressures over the last 2 years. And I understand that some of the interest here was also on software development. So according to the surveys that conducted by IMDA, software development job roles are also has been the highest in demand too, and actually accounted for about 45% of total demand of the ICT workforce, which is over about 216,000, with software application development job roles being the most in demand. And the job roles range from like software application developer, software and applications manager, and also software and product manager. So next, I would like to share more on the emerging areas and some of the key job roles that are in demand in cybersecurity. So some of the areas that demand include like incident response, threat hunting, intelligence, and penetration testing and malware reverse engineering. And with increased connectivity between IT and operational technology, OT in short systems, the demand for job roles requiring competencies in both IT and OT domains have correspondingly increased. We need more cybersecurity professionals that are tuned to such OT systems, but also OT practitioners with cybersecurity competencies. As Singapore continues to digitalize key sectors such as healthcare, transport, urban living, government services, and businesses, we need more cybersecurity talents in various specializations or even domains to support these structures and also our digitalization efforts. So for example, with the exploration into self-driving cars, an automotive vehicle, cybersecurity is also a key area of growth in this area. So professionals in this field must understand both the security networks underlying these cars, as well as also the vehicular components and architecture of a car, to identify loopholes that an attacker might leverage on. So for those interested in career in the cybersecurity or tech field, it is not necessary that you have to be within the technical role. So there's also scope for non-technical professionals within the field, as it's likely to increase too. So, so we have also a lot of international platforms that we work with, like such as the United Nations Group of Government Experts, and also the inaugural Open-Ended Working Group on all this international security in cyberspace. So such international work actually requires talents that have an overarching understanding of tech, as well as also diplomacy. And also domestically, we also need to better educate our public on cyber hygiene. Thus, we also need marketing and outreach specialists to develop campaigns that stay in the mindshare of our public to help them stay safe, as well as also to navigate the cyberspace. I thought to start off, maybe we will share more about the skills framework for ICT, in particular for the cybersecurity threat, because this is a good reference point for you to start off to understand about the various descriptions in the job role. So the skills framework aims to create a common skills language for individuals, employers, and also training providers. And this further helps to facilitate skills recognition and support the design of training programs to build deep skills for a lean workforce, enhance business competitiveness, and also support employment and employability. Individuals can map out your career progression and training plans along your desired specializations. There will be information such as the sector information, career pathways, occupation and job roles, existing and emerging skills, and training programs for skills upgrading. So the next slide actually shows some of the overview of the cybersecurity section in the skills framework. So this is actually parked under the skills framework for ICT, and you can take a look that actually we have mapped out some of the key job roles for these 7 key cybersecurity domain areas. This framework is actually jointly developed by IMDA, Skills Future Singapore, CSA, and also validated by employers, professional bodies, and academia. So in each of these job roles, there are further description for you to understand what are the function and key tasks that is required for this job role, and also the competencies and professional level required for each of this job role. Likewise, since just I mentioned about, there's also increasing focus on OT, we have also developed the OT Cybersecurity Competency Framework Career Map. This is actually also to guide those who are interested to develop career in this area. So likewise, we are using the same taxonomy as the skills framework. This career map actually maps out the key job roles and skills map, and also the tasks and also the performance expectation. So next, I thought I would like to share more on some of the programs that we have. In particular, it is to develop programs to help various individuals. So as you can see from this map, it's called the SG Cyber Talent. The objective is actually is an national initiative to nurture talented cybersecurity enthusiasts from a young age, and also to help cybersecurity professionals to deepen their skills. And in this map, you can see that we have different initiatives from the youth to the women to educators, and also for the assisting professionals as well as also leaders. So for today's session, I'll focus on programs that's more related for people who like to join the sector. So for the professional development programs, the aim is actually to build up Singapore's cybersecurity professionals' capabilities through upskilling and reskilling initiatives, as well as also some of these programs that we have includes like working with other government agencies such as the Tech Skills Accelerator program by IMDA, and also partnership with key professional associations and partners. So we've identified and supported relevant professional certifications to help the upskilling and reskilling of the cybersecurity professionals. So we work very closely to identify with other government agencies to identify some of these programs. So there are some programs that, for instance, there are some like Cybersecurity Associates and Technologists program. There's also Tech Immersion and Placement program. And also we also identify a list of short courses, in particular for really about more for like skills upgrading, and also to validate the credentials in the professional domain. So many of these programs are actually funded under the IMDA's Critical Infocom Technology Resource Program Plus, CTRAP Plus, and also by SSG. You can actually refer to the one-stop portal IMTalent as stated in this slide. And of course, we are very happy to initiatives such as the SGInnovate PowerX program. I'm sure later SGInnovate will share in more details. Is around to help to close the gap and to encourage more Singaporeans to make the switch to the cybersecurity domain, and also to contribute to this exciting growth of the industry. And we would like to see more of such initiatives, such like the PowerX program, to continue to support the rise of deep tech startups and spur Singapore's growth as one of the top startups hubs globally. So in general, deep tech startups often actually need to go niche to gain a competitive edge. And so to see that these initiatives like PowerX supporting these top and niche cyber talents to join the industry will spur Singapore's growth as one of the top startup hubs in the region. We also have different initiatives to grow our cybersecurity professionals depending on their career ambitions. So for those who are keen to take on leadership roles within the cybersecurity sector, we have the SG Cyber Leaders Initiative, which aims to develop and grow a local pool of cybersecurity leaders. And most recently, we announced that we'll be launching the SG Cyber Leaders Strategy and Leadership Program that's aimed to develop those with an aspiration and potential to lead cybersecurity teams. This program aims to expand the perspectives of assisting and also aspiring leaders through curated training and international exposure. So we've also recently launched the SG Cyber Talent Development Fund, a grant that aims to support existing and identify new grant initiatives that engage, develop, and advance our cybersecurity workforce. So through this fund, we hope to leverage on the expertise and network of individuals, communities, and also associations to engage, develop, and grow talent within the ecosystem. So talent engagement and development should and can be a collective effort of everyone within the ecosystem, ranging from a passionate student or enthusiast to a seasoned CISO, cyber leader, or of a large MNC. And we also hope that this fund, bonds, and grows the cybersecurity fraternity. So I thought the next few slides were also to share more of some of the efforts that the community has been helping to help to share more details about more information about cybersecurity. So one of the initiatives actually SG Cyber Women. So this program actually the objective is to attract a diverse local talent pool, and a lot of our partners here, as you can see, they're like the professional associations and communities and non-profit organizations. They have launched various programs from Capture the Flag to learning journeys, as well as also mentorship programs to help educate more women to understand more about the nature of the cybersecurity, and hope to attract more of them into the sector. And in the fourth year, there's also Cybersecurity Awards, which seeks to honor outstanding contributions by individuals, including professionals and students, and also the organizations to local and regional cybersecurity ecosystem. So the awards are organized by one of our industry association, Association of Information Security of Professionals, supported by CSA, and also we have formed this Singapore Cybersecurity Inter-Association that comprises of AISP and 8 other industrial associations, as you can see in this slide. So as you can see, it is a strong community in cybersecurity. CSA will continue to work with all parties to develop local talents like all of you here today. I invite all of you here today to consider tapping on some of these initiatives that I've shared about, and the details can be found on CSA's website, as well as also to sign up for the SGInnovate PowerX Cybersecurity program to reskill and upskill yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Shin, for covering all the exciting opportunities in the industry. Next, we have our very own PowerX trainee, Keith Ang, to share with you more about how he made a career switch into PowerX software and product development with LionsBot International. Over to you, Keith.
Oh, sorry. Am I sharing my screen fine?
Yeah, you are.
Okay, wait. Thank you. Okay, thank you for having me. Thank you for tuning in. So I'm just here to kind of give you an sort of insider's perspective on what it's been like for me. Right, I've been on the program for the past 8 months now. Yeah, so okay, 8 months just like that. But yeah, so I'm going to be talking over the next 10-15 minutes first about perhaps what I've been up to before this program, that perhaps gives some context about what made me want to do this program. And then talk a bit about, of course, right, what the program has been like. If you've learned something about the program, you would have seen that this program is broken down into 2 halves, the first half of which involves courses taken with my educational partner. In this case was SUTD. I'm not sure if that's necessarily going to be the case going forward, but yeah, talk a bit about the courses, talk a bit about what it's been like working with my company, LionsBot, which is a robotics company trying to solve industrial scale cleaning. So I'm going to talk about what this whole program has meant for me personally. And then I will end off perhaps with some things that I would invite questions on, right? Some things that you might want to think about before you apply. Some things that perhaps you might want to, you might be able to put in work to prepare for ahead of the application. So that's roughly how I'm going to structure this, next 10-15 minutes. Hopefully you get something good out of it. So to quickly introduce myself, right? My name is Keith. I started my career, if you can call it that, as an investment banker. I worked, I'll talk a bit more about this. I worked for about 1.5 years with UK bank Barclays, advising on mergers and acquisitions transactions across Southeast Asia. And then today I'm a software engineer, right? I changed, reorganized my life a little bit. I'm going to be talking about that. So I guess, in talking about my past chapters, I can start with national service. that was a while ago, but yeah, I think national service was when I randomly, trying to find time, trying to find ways to fill the time rather, I stumbled upon personal investing. I think that was something that I had a lot of fun with at the time. For whatever reason, convinced by, I kind of had a bit of fun with it, had some sort of personal small successes with it. Was always kind of interested to continue learning about it. I think that was kind of the precursor to a professional interest in finance later on. When I left national service, I found that I had places at NUS, at the law school at NUS and Yale NUS College, right? So the law school at NUS would just be a bachelor's program in law. Yale NUS College would have been a liberal arts education, which is perhaps a novel model of education here in Singapore, but I think it was quite a standard kind of liberal arts model. With a lot of struggling, I decided in the end to go to Yale NUS College, much to the disappointment of my parents, who were looking forward to having a lawyer son. Disappointed them in that way. But yeah, I continued on to spend 4 years in Yale NUS College. I think that was when I sort of got very married to this idea that I wanted to work in finance after I graduated. Yale NUS College did not offer any finance or finance-related courses, and so I resolved to kind of figure out what a finance major graduating from a Singapore university would have to know when they graduated, and kind of found my way to learn what I had to learn alongside my full-time undergraduate education. So yeah, I had a very rewarding time. So Yale NUS College, I know some of you might know that it is slated for closure in about 3 or 4 years, which I'm very sad about. But I had a very, very meaningful and very fulfilling time while at Yale NUS. I think I was given a lot of chance to explore. I think I started as an econ major, but then found myself exploring as a environmental studies major, a history major, a computer science major, and finally I graduated a philosophy major. So that was kind of my meandering journey through school. One of the things that I'll come back and touch on this, but one of the things that ended up being very serendipitous for me was that I spent a bit of my time taking some classes in computer science, right? I got myself kind of a basic understanding of what it meant to write code and to think about things as a computer scientist would. I felt like I learned enough so that if I ever wanted to revisit this domain of knowledge, I would at least know enough to be able to teach myself. So that was something that gave me a lot of confidence, when I finally decided that I had to respect that I was intensely curious about philosophy. So yeah, I graduate, right? Sort of with this whole bundle of very messy academic experiences, and a decent, I guess, background in corporate finance. I was peer tutoring some classes in corporate finance and private equity investing at the time. Through sort of my college life, I'd also been doing internships, relating to corporate finance, investment banking, investing, buying and selling companies, that sort of thing, financial analysis. Eventually, when I graduated, I had a job at Barclays. Right? This was the Singapore office, fairly international environment. I think this was a very important experience for me because I think I learned here that a very kind of analytical, spreadsheet-driven, work environment, very kind of corporate work environment was perhaps not my thing. In the end, I found my way to, have fun with it and do a good job. But yeah, I realized that I was really looking for more of an environment where people were passionate about what they were doing, not necessarily kind of looking to follow instructions and get a paycheck. That really was not what I was kind of looking for. And I think, with the experiences that I had in the interim, I think I hit upon this idea that I really wanted to be an engineer. I wanted to do work that would involve building something, or at least developing knowledge in the tools that would let me build things. So I think, yeah, so I think this 1.5 years in investment banking actually helped me really solidify that maybe being some kind of engineer was for me. I recall at the time when I left, I wasn't completely set, in investment banking. I wasn't completely set on becoming a software engineer. I had friends who kind of were suggesting that would be a good idea, but I knew that I also had a couple other curiosities at the time. So when I left my job at Barclays, the first thing I did actually was a 3-month apprenticeship at a woodworking studio. So yeah, so this is kind of I spent 3 months as a woodworker designer at a venture capital affiliated prototyping studio. So this workshop that I was at, essentially, the daily mandate was to help portfolio startups in their community iterate. This leftmost picture I have here, right under the 5th pin, that's actually a 1 to 10 scale. So a 10 times shrunk down scale of a collapsible sort of structure that could be deployed, as kind of emergency residences, to serve kind of disaster struck areas. So that was really interesting. I learned some, design. I learned design methodology, 3D modeling. I learned how to work with various kind of power tools. That was really fun. Solidified my hunch that I wanted to do things that involved building. So parallel to this apprenticeship, right, I was also doing a boot camp, right? A boot camp with a local polytechnic here. It's called Go School, right? That's its logo in the middle. That was where I wanted to give myself the space to kind of dig deep into code, right? And to kind of verify if my hunch that I was interested in coding was correct. So that was really nice. I think I really appreciated having that space to learn, learn the program and, be given sort of chunkier assignments that I could lean into and learn something about. So I guess at the same time, I wanted to learn something a bit less Googleable, right? Go, I guess, it is not the first language of most programmers. Go is a little bit more niche if you kind of spend a bit of time looking up, right, what people use the programming language Go for. You'll learn about it. It's fairly well documented. But at the same time, I think I got a really good understanding of one slice of most software companies' tech stack because I had this experience. So yeah, Go School, my Golang boot camp was 6 months long. For the first of those 3 months, I was also juggling a woodworking apprenticeship. For the last of those 3 months, I spent trying out the life of a dance instructor. So yeah, for a long time now, I've been passionate about ballroom dancing. And when I left my investment banking job, I had the opportunity to explore, right, what being a dance teacher might be like, to kind of compete and teach full time. Yeah, I tried it out and realized that perhaps it's not my thing to mix my creative passion with sort of my professional interest. Happy to take questions about that later. But that was a very kind of fulfilling 6 months of my life. At the end of that 6 months, I realized that, yeah, I think I probably want to develop myself as a software engineer, not necessarily because, I don't know about y'all, but I think I've learned that, perhaps my job is not necessarily where I derive a sense of calling from, but at the same time, I would like my job to be somewhere I do things that, do interest me, that I have a lot of fun with, and can build skills that hold, personal or creative possibilities. And so that takes me here, right? That's when I applied for found out about PowerX, applied for it, and was very lucky to get a spot on the program together with LionsBot. So that's my journey so far. So, okay, PowerX courses with SUTD. So now I'm going to just kind of take you quickly through the first half. So in the first half of the program, I spent about half my week, half a week of every week doing courses with SUTD. The other half I would be, we call it on-job training, but essentially you go there and you go to your workplace and try and make yourself as useful as possible, and you see what you learn along the way, right? I guess that's what Untitled Trainee is a label for. So yeah, we started with a basic course, right? Fundamentals in JavaScript. At the end of it, we pushed out this very simple comic reading website, that makes an API call and populates the images. There's a bit of kind of CSS, HTML, thing that you use to, so this is kind of vanilla HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Yeah, I don't think I guess for people who are newer, I certainly considered myself newer. This was my first experience writing anything on the client side. So that was fun, having that gentle ramp up, to learn a language that I've never written in before. Building comfort with new language. And I think looking back, something that I found that I really appreciated was having the space to build troubleshooting skills. So yeah, I guess what I'm realizing now is that, I would say like half the job, right, of being a software engineer is your Google foo, getting good at learning how to leverage all the resources that are out there to solve the problems that undoubtedly other people have had before. So after that, second module was data structures and algorithms module taught in Python. Yeah, Python's a really useful language to know something about, right? Very general purpose. It ranges from general purpose, you can use it to easily write a lot of very simple, very handy scripts. A lot of people use it for that. Or if you're working in something like machine learning, or if you're working in something like robotics, it becomes essential, right? So I think, Python's a great language to know. We learned it whilst learning about perhaps, right, algorithms, just how to reason about manipulating data in the most efficient way possible. You'll learn about things like runtime complexity, algorithmic runtime complexity. You'll learn about things like the different trade-offs that you might want to make when thinking about how to store and represent data. We also learned a little bit about programming paradigms. So I guess the two big ones would be, object-oriented programming and functional programming. Yeah, you'll find, I'm kind of just throwing out keywords here that you can Google. All right, this is not meant to be a deep dive about what you've learned, just providing an overview. And then the last thing we learned, in this particular module was how to just kind of conceptually reason about programmatically testing your code. Writing programs that assure you that your application's output is correct. Okay, so that was the second module. Then we moved on to a little, with those kind of big fundamental, I want to say, or conceptual ideas out of the way, we moved on to a little bit more applied things, right? A little bit closer to the tools and the considerations that software engineers would actually have on the day-to-day working in teams, right? So we have this front-end development course, right, in which we learned React, which is an extremely popular and widely adopted front-end framework, right? People use it to, essentially it takes care of a lot of the things that any front-end developer would want to worry about, right? Things like keeping track of state, keeping track of the presentation of various components on your website. Learn how to use React to create and use abstractions, and in general, just to structure your client-side code in a way that, is easy to maintain, in a way that you can powerfully reuse, to help you kind of be a bit more useful with your team. And then we also did a course, right, a module in backend development. So this was more about kind of on the server side, right, away from what the end user is presented with. How is your application structured such that you can, almost like repairing or tinkering with a car, can break out this or that portion, this particular service, this particular bit of functionality, and iterate upon that without the rest of the application necessarily having to be rewired. So here, you learn about how APIs work, you learn how to pass data between applications that are written by very different people in very different languages using very different technology stacks. You learn something about kind of foundational principles of how exactly, right, one computer talks to another computer, primarily over the internet. Okay. So moving on, right? Yeah. Then we have these final two courses that perhaps have less to do with being a software engineer. They still have to do with being a software engineer in some way, but they deal more with the tool set, the kind of programming, the kind of team environment where software engineer teams sort of operate in. So the first one was a course on infrastructure and development tools. So this is essentially talking about things like deployment pipelines, talking about programmatic infrastructure provision, right? So these are again things you can get a bit more familiar with on your own as well, right? So learning something about how Amazon Web Services works, learning something about things like GitHub Actions, and then finally was a course on design and product management, which is more about things like software development life cycles, things like design methodologies. So perhaps the things that guide the way code gets written that have less to do with coding per se. So yeah, so these were the kind of 6 yeah, so those were kind of the 6 big blocks that I went through. Okay, give me a sec. I think okay, there. So okay, so that was what I learned, sort of in school. I think that was a nice it was a nice kind of ramp up, but I think I would say that I learned a lot, right? I really learned. I want to say way more. Just because of kind of the time pressure, the I guess stakes, of actually sort of taking on work that flows into the rest of the team. So the other half of the week, I think I think that was a very challenging, very stretching half of the week for me, right up until December. So I think when January started, so from January onwards, I've been basically showing up full time, right, at the LionsBot offices. But before that, I'd be splitting my time 50-50 between school and the office. In the office, I think I was quite fortunate to be part of a team that understands that I am a career switcher. I remember kind of showing up to the very first day at LionsBot offices, having very bare bones understanding of HTML, CSS, and having never written any JavaScript. And I was there as a front-end engineer to begin with. So I think they were quite understanding, right? We briefly discussed it during the interview, and they signaled that, okay, we understand that you're here because you're willing to learn, not because you know everything there is to know. And I was quite grateful that they gave that they had that kind of attitude, because they gave me kind of very challenging things. They gave me sort of challenges like replicate as much as you can of our product. And this is a product that has been out in production for like 2 years. So the point is to kind of just get as far as you can. Yeah, which I really leaned into and got a lot out of as a result. I wish I could show you kind of the progress that, I think that would have been a very meaningful kind of comparison. Just my first sort of test submission and what I ended up producing in the end, like the things that I get to work on now. So a little bit about LionsBot. We make robots that, if you think about kind of Roombas, right? If you're familiar with what a Roomba does, right? It lives in your home, it automatically charges, it can find its way around your floor, you can schedule cleans, you have ways to remotely monitor its status, like battery level, right? Does it need a change in water, things like that. So it's kind of that concept, right? But scaled up for industrial scale environments. So think stadiums, train stations, convention centers, malls. So for the past 6-8 months, I've been working on two things primarily, right? I've been working on the various mobile apps that we provide for the use of our end users to remotely control, give instructions to the robots, as well as a web dashboard which allows our clients to monitor the statuses of their robot fleets. So the web dashboard is written in React. The mobile applications have been written in React, right, React Native, but have also been written in Dart and Flutter. So yeah, a lot of I've since kind of my tool set, right, has also broadened a lot, in addition to my understanding of how things operate, right, in a software team, prioritization skills. And I think that the thing that I'm realizing, the kind of very big realization that I'm having over the past, I want to say half a year, is just that I really am having a lot of fun writing code, and then it makes a huge difference to sort of enjoy what you're doing. Something to think about for all the career switchers in the audience. So continuing on, right? So now I can just spend a bit of time talking about what the career switch has meant personally for me. Right. So the first thing is that I'll just note that, right, I think I alluded to this just now. The first thing I'll note is that my tool set has expanded considerably. Within short span of 6 months, I think, right, 8 months ago, I kind of showed up knowing a single language, Go, and I think I had a really good, not really good, I had a decent understanding. I had a beginner's understanding of one particular slice of the tech stack, right? I knew how backends worked. I knew what a microservice architecture was. I knew about how people used Docker containers. And I would try and reach out from that, but I didn't really understand things like, how do front-end engineers reason about lazy loading, various components on their website. I didn't have the chance to kind of think about that kind of thing. What is, what are splines, what are vectors, and how do they work into a front-end application? Didn't have the chance to deal with that kind of thing. And yeah, since then, I think those are some of the things that I've had the chance to think about. So since then, I've had the chance to work with JavaScript, TypeScript, right? React, which is a framework written in JavaScript and TypeScript. Right? I've picked up Python. I've picked up Dart and its most popular use, Flutter. Right? So these are just other tools to write, in particular, mobile applications. And yeah, I think since then, since joining LionsBot, I think I joined LionsBot as a well, I guess the role that I was interviewing for, the role on my contract is that I'm a front-end engineer. But I think I joined quite clear that I did not want to just be a front-end engineer. I think from the very beginning, I've been saying that I would like to, right, at the very least, end the year doing full stack development. Of course, right, being at a robotics company offers the unique opportunity of also dealing with, right, on-robot logic. So things like pathfinding, navigation, obstacle avoidance, right, internal monitoring. So I think these more low-level, programming things relating to, right, drivers, relating to memory allocation, these are things that I feel very, very excited about. And I think that, so I guess, along the way, I just continue to try and do well and continue to badger them to give me sort of opportunities to broaden my skill set. And it's been going well so far, right? So I think, right, our backend is written in Java, and, I've just started to have the opportunity to work in Java. So, okay, creative possibilities. I think this is something that I really do care about. Right, I was talking just now about how, right, you learn to code, you have fun with code, but then I think something that that I care about a lot is also that learning to code makes me more personally, creatively fulfilled. So in my own time, I've been, I've set myself the goal over 2022 to learn about, the game development engine, Unity, and to learn the programming, low level, kind of touted as the C++ killer, right, Rust, the language. And then, I've also been taking up a course on generative art, right, creative coding. So using code and math to produce images that, are pleasing because they have a certain mathematical pattern to them. And finally, I think this is something that I appreciate a lot because it has given me a new cognitive toolset, right? Prior to this, I think, as a philosophy student, perhaps I had access to a certain, logical reasoning kind of skill set. Perhaps as an investment banker, I had the chance to develop, right, certain presentation skills or certain financial analysis skills, learning how to think about the world, think about things the way a business person would. Yeah, I think those were kind of very cherished things. And here I'm very, grateful that I get to learn about, things like design thinking. I get to apply engineering sort of, thought processes, get to learn about kind of the nuts and bolts of how things work and implement things. Yeah, so these are some of the things I'm very, very grateful for. So I will wrap up with just kind of some tips for anyone who's looking to apply and some observations on my journey. The first thing I want to address is, I think a lot of us are here because, for whatever reason, you're entertaining this idea that you want to learn to code. And I think, yeah, so what I mean by do you is simply that there are so many free resources or paid resources, right, depending on you, out there right now. I think something that will help any application into the PowerX program is demonstrated interest. I think this gets at an earlier question that was asked, right? How much code, how proficient do you have to be? And sure, there is a structured training, there is a kind of assessment. But I think the idea here is that the resources are abundant enough that that the difference between someone who sits there and says that they like the idea of learning to code, and the person who has actually put in work to learn how to code and done something to show for it, and has something to show for it, is huge, right? So I'm talking about things like Free Code Camp, Odin Project, Harvard CS50X, which is literally a series of YouTube videos. So yeah, I think there are many ways to confirm your hunch about whether coding would be for you. Second thing, I think a lot of people underestimate how transferable skills in your current non-tech job can be when going into tech. Because at its core, it is about working with people, even though the code is the most visible aspects of it. So I'm just going to leave this here. Right, it has helped me a lot to be able to break things down, break big tasks down into smaller tasks. It has helped me a lot to be able to communicate, clearly. These are skills that I built as an investment banker. It has helped me a lot to understand what it means to work hard and deliver on, agreed outcomes. Right, these are things that were not skills. These are not skills that I built, on this particular job. So success factors, I think, right, what would help one sort of come out well, right, going through this program? I think giving yourself the time to learn a new set of skills is critical. Giving yourself the space to struggle with a set of challenges that you're not familiar with is extremely important. Having the purpose, right, so when I say purpose, I just mean, right, I think a lot of us are here because they're motivated in some way, right? I think it's important to get clear on their purpose because yeah, it has been really difficult at points. I've had sleepless nights, I've had pull all-nighters to be able to address whatever challenges I had at work. In those times, I think it's extremely important. It helps a lot to be able to kind of keep in mind why you're here. Problem-solving skills, similarly can be practiced and can be developed. Yeah, so at the most kind of concrete level, you're talking about, right, solving technical interviews, right, practicing your lead code and hacker rank and things like that.
Hi, Keith. Sorry,
Yeah.
we would love to hear from you, but we need to pass the time on to the next speaker.
Yeah,
so I think we'll hear from you more during the Q&A session when we have some very relevant questions coming up for you.
Sure. So that was actually my last bullet point. I literally ending now.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Wow, from investment banking to software and product development, it's interesting to see that some skills are really transferable across industry, isn't it? Next, we have Kelson Ho, who will give us a deeper look into his job scope and capstone project that he has been working on as a cybersecurity trainee with Attila Cybertech. Kelson, over to you.
Thank you, Rita. Okay. Hi. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kelson. I'm a PowerX Cybersecurity trainee, and that's my sharing. Okay, a bit about myself. All right, I'm in the 40s right now. I have spent the first 12 years of my career. Starting my background, I'm into computing in the diploma with Nanyang Polytechnic. After that, I joined the RSF for 12 years. After which, the only 3 years I have probably spent in one of the IT project in the HQ. doing that. Subsequently, I'm more in the operational role. After that, the 12 years, I decided that, yeah, I want to try out the private sector. So I joined the oil and gas industry with a company called NOV, National Oil Vaco. I was there with them for 12 years. Subsequently, until a restructuring ending in 2020 third quarter, I'm let go. So during that time, I started to ponder, okay, what should I do with the, subsequently? Yeah, so I thought, okay, let's go back to my roots. I start with a bit of IT, even though I don't practice it for like close to like 24 years. But I thought, yeah, that's where my interest I still have. So I decided I embark with the first program, it's the IBM, I Vitalized program, the cybersecurity track, together with SGInnovate. After the 6-month training of that, then you'll be around looking for jobs. But a lot of requirement is that the people want the people with experience. So that is something really that I'm lacking. You are new to a field, you don't have the experience, but the work score for is the employer looking for that, or employer looking for that. So I found PowerX, and that the greatest thing that draw me to it is the 6-month OJT. It's the 6-month structured training. I thought that gives a very good basis to really embark on the career switch. They prepare it for you, they give you chance to train, and you move on. So I'm lucky now at PowerX, I'm coming to my second phase with Attila Cybertech doing my on-the-job training. But the first 6 months is really intense. I mean, from my experience so far, we are doing with a Nanyang Polytechnic, doing a special diploma in the cybersecurity practice. It has a total of 10 modules, follow accumulation with a capstone project, putting all you've learned, and the last project to show for it is a 1-month project, your own time, own target, doing everything. So I must say the 6 months is intense, really, because, like, for example, as a norm, every 2 weeks, you're going to see that you're going to have a quiz, a predicate test, and a group assignment, almost, yeah, for the 5 months until you come to your project. Yeah, that's good. I mean, we really learn. I mean, it's tough. You need to put in time. It's intense. But at the end of the day, I think the assignment is difficult because you're working with different people. We rotate the groups around, so you're working with different characters, individuals, different needs. But that really helped to enforce the learning. Okay, so with that, I'd like to have a few subsequently our capstone project. What we did is flood control. Our focus is on the operation technology, OT. And what we're going to achieve here is design and secure the system infrastructure. My team consists of 4 members, and one of them. Yeah, this is my overview for the background wise. Okay, these are fictitious. But the tender at PUB, we're going to address the flood-prone Western Singapore. Make sure things run when there's flood. Don't make sure there's no flood to manage it. To plan, implement, and manage the water level system. Fictitious, the Poyan and the Tengah Reservoir. That is the basis. Next, then we need to go and set up our network topology. All right. Then we're using a modified Purdue model. So we can show here how we're going to link up our different pieces together, where they stay in the different level in the OT perspective. Okay, further, it will help us to do the things subsequently to plan and to check. Okay, next we're moving to important thing down here. What I'm doing here is frame adoption. Well, a framework is important. With the NIST cybersecurity framework, which we have selected, right? Because this framework is initially being built or come up with for improving critical infrastructure in cybersecurity. It consists of different core functions. Different core functions like identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. So some of you might not be familiar, but what you're really doing is nothing too deep. Yep. Basis is, think of it as a checklist. So in the CII, critical information infrastructure, right? These are the things you need to take note on. So they give you a list, they give you things that need to be done, you should have, but it's a very high level. So specific, it depends on your needs. And hence we come up with things we want to do for each thing, covering everything. Yeah, that's why we have a framework to guide us as a guiding beacon. So we deviate from the thing. After that, before you embark further, we do risk assessment. Based on the network we come up with, the infrastructure we come up with, we do risk assessment. So from there, we follow a CSA guide, because these are really, there are different kinds of risk assessments to be done. But in Singapore, coming from an angle of a critical infrastructure like PUB, we want to follow the CSA guide, because that will entail that we speak the common language across the CII, and it's to be compliant with local regulation for reporting auditing as well. So primarily are 3 main steps to this: identification, analysis, and evaluation. doing. So you come out, with every step we come out is there's an end product, like risk identification, you come out with risk scenario, how this thing can affect things. Coming to analysis, with the scenario being generated, you derive the likelihood, the impact of it, and finally you do an evaluation. Based on the evaluation, do you have any controls in place to make sure if they're high in number, they're risky? Have you controlled that? If not, then we need to re-look back, to proceed further. This may seem simple, but there's a lot of work behind them until for your output. All right. Next, what we think is the BCP. This is what we call a business continuity plan. That is invent any businesses, organization, right? I mean, you have a purpose for your existence. You have a certain mission to be completed, your core business. So this plan is put in place to make sure in event, any event that happen that disrupt your core business from being able to fulfill your core business, then this plan must be able to address it. So in end of the day, just think about it doing a fire drill. When the emergency really happened, you know where to assemble, which exit to take, where to go. Yeah, this is what the BCP entails. You need to think through it, where to meet, who are people to call, who to call, when must you recover your business, what is your contingency plan. Yeah, this is really the BCP part of things. Next, we do a design review on the things we have designed so far to see what are we short for. And here we're not that. We need to do with more redundancy. We need to cater for maintenance window, like cloud computing, your blue-green deployment. You roll out a new piece of update. You want to make sure if anything happen, you have an old piece of equipment to fall back to, so your operation don't get disrupted, for a long period of time. And really, the centralized A3, the authorization, authentication, accounting form is having a domain controller. Sorry, this is going to be very brief. So it's just an overview. So I'm not going to go into very detail, but rather let you have an appreciation of what we have learned and what we're trying to apply in our capstone project. All right. So moving down, we have a POC. It's a proof of concept setup. Because here we're going to show that the impact when people breach into a CII infrastructure, and here then you can have the control things, make it behave in an unintended way, and the consequences you can see. So in this proof of concept setup, right, what we have here is your Siemens S7-1200 PLC, the programmer logic controller with HMI, which will give you interfacing into the controller. Here we call it SCADA, the supervisory control and data acquisition. They look at it as a higher control that people sitting in a control room can have a view on the operation of the PLC is carrying out. And here, of course, is our hardware setup. Right, they consist of 2 water tanks, and there are 2 O-ring sensors over here, one top, one below. Later you can see more clearly, there's a video on it. Then we have a height sensor, so the water fill up, right? So once it fill up here, they'll drain down via open the valve here, will open and drain the water down. Okay, so when the water in the tank B fill up, you hit the sensors, they'll activate, open the valve and have a pump to pump the water back up. So you can see that these 2, the water within the tank A and B, they'll be circulating without overflowing out. Okay, so that is our setup for a subsequent demonstration. And of course, from here, you have a switch here, and we're going to have an IDS, an intrusion detection system attached to it. So, when out of norm communication happens, we're able to detect it. Okay, so hardening. So part of security is really hardening. And what we learn also Windows, Linux hardening. So what we are going to harden to make it safer. Things are not used, won't be open. Like Siemens, in terms of the PLC, we have firmware, make sure it's updated. In the Windows, make sure you have virus update, the patches up to date. We also renew the Nexus for vulnerability scan to see any CVE, CWE that's available, that's open and on the system. So we can address that, close that, ZenMap, to check out all your open ports and services that there are and which should not be there. If you found them, we close them. And for the Cisco switch, is really the setting up, the security aspect of things. That's a hardening we've done for it. Okay, so now coming to a pen testing. Here, for the pen testing, just assume here, the SCADA, what we're going to assumption we make is one of the switch port is misconfigured. So actually the insider job, right, they launched a replay attack on the S7 communication. It's between the PLC and the SCADA. This is where we're coming in to do a replay attack to make the PLC do unintended actions. Okay, target is to pump water to tank A beyond its capacity to overflow tank A. Okay, with this is the video. I'll be speeding up the video in 2 times, and I'll be doing a narrating while the video is playing. Okay, for here, what I'm going to demonstrate is a normal operation. You can see water is filling up here. Once it hit the top sensor, right, this valve will be open and water will be pumped down to the tank B below. So as the water comes out of the orange sensor, in proximity, once it triggers it, right, the pump is actually activated, and pump up water. So the water will flow in this cycle. Now we're going to do an exploit demo. Okay, look, this is a PLC. This is the output light that control your pumps, your valves. Currently in operation, you can see 2 lights. All right, just take note over here at the bottom. Now here we're going to activate the exploit. Now we're going to turn on. See, notice the light here all turn up. So, and the water, you see, it has gone beyond the orange sensor already and it's keep filling. Okay, so this is where the exploit works. We override the PLC logic and let it do things it shouldn't. Okay, but right now we stop the exploit to let it drain down. Here we're showing the deny. The SCADA can control the operation, all right? So you can filling up. We're going to show that when the exploit is done up, right? You see, it's filling beyond the thing, the orange sensor. Over here, there are people here trying to click on the stop button on the mouse, but it doesn't stop the operation. It denies control to the operator at the control center. And yep, you see, you're trying to stop it. So the tank overflow. Okay, this is a successful attack. Okay, right now we have off the effect and just let it run on. IDS, we're going to show you this problem. Ready, just how a ready flow IDS, right? So the attacker plug in a new. So actually the IDS pick it up. We know there's a new machine being plugged into the switch into a network. So it alerted us to it. Now, this is the point we run the exploit on the PLC itself. Okay, now the exploit is running. And after a while, yep, the IDS pick it up. And to show you, so they have S7 extra writing to it. How the IDS actually pick it up is because before, in normal operation, right, they do a baselining. Okay. Once the baseline is done, right, they will look something when things like that happen, right? The operation, the parameter passing through is very different from a normal operation. That's when you get it trigger and send alerts to the operators for them to be aware. Okay, so pen testing is showing that we can get through because the system is not secure enough. So here, incident handling, what we're going to talk about is really when this kind of thing happens, what are the action we're going to do? Okay, so in fact, as a norm, you're definitely going to have an IR team. IR is an incident response team. So we're going to have a detection analysis, which we have, and importantly, the people must be able to do containment, subsequently to eradicate and recover to move back into the normal operation. And if we have redundancy, you can put in a redundancy, move on while you solve the problem. And of course, number 5 is post-incident activities. So you learn what went wrong, make sure it doesn't happen again. Okay. So compliance audit, this one will tie back just now with the NIST framework that we have chosen, the things we decided to do at each phase, right? When we come back to the compliance, just now the thing we list out here is really like a report card. What we list out, do we achieve them, or do we have a shortfall? So you do a self-critic on your project or your deliverables. And finally, we do our recommendation, or rather reflection, you say. So we find that for the system-wise communication, we have one layer that is unencrypted communication. We have done it with a S7 COM+, then we have avoided that from happening. SIEM, the security incident and event management system that can collate from different sources, the log from different sources, make sense of it and to detect anomaly. That's an important thing. I think we need to have that apart from the IDS itself. And of course, from the simulated scenario of talking about regular checks on hardware, people having access to ports they should not have access to. So these are important things. And lastly, you have your SIM everything. You need an SOC. You need people to keep tab, to monitor things, to make sure when things happen, you can react first time, and with an instant handling response team as well. Yeah, in the gist, that's our capstone project. They took us a month. It's a long journey. It's interesting, but I think end of the day we learn things. But more importantly is after that, it was all these through the 10 modules, the capstone project, the knowledge we learn in relating to cybersecurity, I wouldn't say it's deep, but it's fundamental to the intermediate level thereabout. But important is Attila, I start to practice the skill in the real environment. It's no longer scenarios. It's really in the real world application, validating what you have learned, knowing the impact and consequences of things you do. So I guess this really, it felt good for me so far. But at the end of the day, you must have the grit. Things won't be smooth sailing. You're going to have problems. You run into issues. We just have to overcome, resolve it. You have a team, then help one another out, and things will be better, I would say. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelson, for the wonderful sharing. As we can see from the trainees, even though they are relatively fresh talent in their industries, they're already contributing in many ways to their startups. But of course, apart from exposure, proper guidance and mentorship plays a huge role in developing talent. Our last speaker for tonight, David Ong, can share more about this aspect, as well as his thoughts on how close mentorship can influence your learning journey and how you can maximize this relationship. Over to you, David.
Hi, thanks. Yeah, hi everyone, good evening. I know it's late. Some of you probably haven't grabbed dinner just like myself, and appreciate your attendance in spite of that. I did not prepare any slides, but I'll just speak. And also, I think later on there'll be some Q&A. All right, happy to answer questions to the presenters and also to myself if there's any. So first of all, I think we are glad to take part in the PowerX program as the sponsor or the beneficiary of this program as a company, right? Partnering it. Now, as you can see just now, both Kelson and Keith, they are mature students. They have a long journey, previous career that they have worked in. Actually, it's maybe different, but at the same time, it gives them a lot of breadth and a lot of depth in terms of their resilience, their character building. And so when they embark on this, I think they're self-motivated to begin with. Both of them said that it's not easy. There are times when you work late, you have assignments to do, and so on. I myself have been through a part-time study. I know how tough it is, when I was younger as well. So I was also doing it on a part-time basis. And so I think overall, it's important to have the passion. PowerX program, I think the name is very nice and also very fitting in the sense that you need to have that X factor, whereby I think you must have passion, because if you don't have passion, you will find that, hey, I'm learning this because I need a job. I'm learning this because, okay, I got nothing else better to do. Then I think that would be the wrong thing to begin. Of course, you don't know what you're getting into. You don't know whether, you come out at the end or at the road and you see a rainbow. It still takes time to be, yet to be proven, as in life, right? But if you don't even step out of it, you don't sail away from the shore, you can't find new land, right? And so I think overall, we are also very grateful as a company partnering this, that we are invited to be the beneficiary of this program. And as far as mentoring is concerned, I would say that I'm not the guy that is mentoring Keith directly in our company. It's actually the team lead that is doing that. But I do get some feedback and from time to time. And I think according to him, again, managing mature students is not like an intern. And so, they know what to do. They just need some guidance. They need some direction and a lot of communication both ways. So we also learn from them as much as they learn from us. Other than that, I would say, kudos to SGInnovate for having this program, and I hope that they will continue to do this program. And for now, it's for cybersecurity and software development, which is two of the areas where I feel that in terms of technology, they are at the forefront of our, let's say, top of the list, or where talent is very, we are very short on talent. So in conclusion, it's a good program to have. Yeah, that's all. Thanks.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much for your sharing. We will begin the Q&A session now. I see that we have a lot of questions coming in. Maybe we'll take on the first question for Shin and David to answer. Out of the 5 emerging areas for cybersecurity, are there roles that are more in demand than others? Is it better to be a generalist or to be technical? David, you want to go first?
Okay, I was going to let the lady to go first. But okay, I'll give it a shot first. So, okay, for Attila Cybertech, because we are in the space of OT security, so my views may be very biased towards that. And to me is that before you become a specialist, you need to roughly know the general backdrop and basic skill sets. So it's good to be a generalist first before you want to be a specialist. Just like a doctor, right? You train to be a family physician, and then before you specialize, a GP, right? And before you specialize into a particular area. So that will be my view. And if you ask me, well, come to the space of OT security.
Hi, yeah. So I have a slightly different view with David though. Yeah, so maybe I first address the question on is there any specific areas that's more demand? Actually, because cybersecurity is still considered quite a new emerging area. So actually all areas are actually in demand by various companies, small and big, and also different sectors like just I mentioned. Then on the question on whether should we start the generalist or technical, actually, there's no right or wrong answer, but it really depends on individuals. So I wanted to share also, like personally, I started off my career as a software developer, and it was very technical. It also came as a surprise to me that I found a very technical job because it wasn't my earlier interest. But along the way, that was actually the first part of my career, and I followed. In the second part of my career, actually, I switched to less technical role. So I've been doing more workforce development policies in the last few years. And I found that the technical groundwork or the expertise or rather the knowledge I have in the first few years of my career actually helps to shape a lot of my work eventually when I move on to a non-technical role. And actually, I'm quite lucky that a lot of the things that I've done in the earlier part of my career, right up to now, even though when I move on to the more cybersecurity related kind of like domain, it's still very applicable. Yeah. So I think I also see that a lot of my colleagues or even a lot of my peers who are actually started off more from the generalist in terms of like maybe they do more of the non-tech stuff, but they also eventually start to venture into the more tech areas also in cybersecurity or in other tech sectors also. So it really depends on the personal interest and also the personal, maybe the individual perseverance also in terms of all this. Yeah.
Thanks, Junie. Thank you, David. So in summary, it really depends on the person's interest where they want to go to as well. Okay, we have a couple of questions for Keith. I've just summarized these questions and I will read it out to you, Keith. Was there any considerations before you took the plunge from investment banking to be an engineer? That is money, family pressure, comparing between yourself and others your age, etc. And what part of software development excites or challenges you that finance can't? Do you only face a monitor day to day as per the usual stereotype of programmers and developers?
Right. Okay. So the main consideration for me, right, was, okay, money was definitely a part of it, right? I took a huge pay cut to be here. And I had to make sure that I was ready for the pay cut. being ready means not just me, right? I have to kind of assess, right, my whole kind of financial situation of everyone I care about. So that was definitely a part of it. But I just want to point out that being a software engineer is not necessarily the worst paying job in the world, right? So there's that. Yeah, so I think perhaps the thing that mattered more to me was, right, the personal well-being considerations, right? Things that you brought up, peer pressure, comparing yourself and others. So this last thing about sort of whether I'm winning, yeah, right. I think that was the thing that I did have to reckon with. I think a big thing about, you know, how do I say this? A lot of people, you know, I feel like a lot of people get discouraged from making a career switch because maybe, you know, they spent 5 years getting really good at this thing that they're doing, and then they expect themselves to make the career switch and instantly be, I don't know, Google caliber. And then they feel this crushing pressure, and it discourages them. I feel that I'm a strong, in my view, you need to, in my view, it's extremely important to give yourself the space to learn the things that you care about. Yeah, so I think making space to grow in that way was very important to me. In the end, I changed because it was really important for me to be in a career where, you know, more synthetic in nature, in the sense that I'm building things, not breaking things down and explaining things. Personal preference, right? Software engineering, this excites me in a way that finance can. Yeah, I think it comes out to that. You know, it's a job about building things. It just gets me going in a way that poring over spreadsheets to explain insights does not. I do not just face a monitor day to day for sure. I think stereotypes are stereotypes. There is something to that, right? It is a desk job. So if, you know, yeah, it's not being an outdoor educator, right? But yeah, I mean, you definitely have to talk to people a lot, right? You have clients that you need to address, on-site testing. In my case, right, we sell robots, so on-site testing is a thing. But yeah, I would say that it's a fairly kind of sedentary and office-bound environment. But what you do in that space, obviously, you know, it depends a lot on the place and the team. Yeah, that's it.
Thanks, Keith. Kelson, I think the questions that are coming in are quite similar to the ones that came for Keith. Again, was there any considerations before you took the plunge from what you were doing before in you know, SAF and then the oil and gas company to being a cybersecurity trainee? And as a mid-career change, what is the major challenge you face, and what is the major strength of this program?
Okay, so to address the first part, for me, it's actually a lot simpler because due to restructuring in oil and gas, right, I'm let go. So, you know, they just make it simple for me in that sense. So yeah, so you can say that I'm put in a situation, but I'm happy in some way. Sometimes being in your, just like Keith said previously, being good in your job might not be necessarily sometimes a good thing, depend on environment, because, you know, they see you are good, you keep on doing it. So you come to a point, you get so sick of it. So rotations are important in my own opinion. So for me to move on to a new role, I say, yeah, let's seek out something new. So in fact, I'm happy. Not that, you know, just for the caveat is, you know, not that I'm rich or something like that, you know, I can just do anything I want, pursue my passion. Not that sense, you know, I have mouth to feed, family to feed, right? Yeah. Bottom line is, you know, you need to adjust, be realistic, adjust your lifestyle if you need be. You know, if you're earning like let's say 5,000 a month, now you're earning 2,000 a month. So, you know, adjust accordingly, get through this period, work hard, you know, pursue, go on. I believe if you're willing to put in the effort, the time and work, you'll get somewhere, you know. Here, they don't recognize you, move on, you know, there's choices. People have choices. That's very fair. So it doesn't mean that, you know, you have to be cornered and put into a corner because of situation. I'm always a victim. If you think like that, then I think it's very pessimistic. Be positive, you know, be happy. Be happy. I think that the positive energy is important. So, you know, see the glass as half full would be great. Yeah. So I think in that sense, with the kind of mindset, the things that you do, you probably will have a better outcome. And yeah, I guess it become more meaningful for you in that sense. Yeah,
Great.
so
Thank you, Kelson. So in summary, pursue your dreams and go for it. Be happy. We do have a couple of questions, but Jerry will be answering them in regards to the program itself. Because we are quite short in time, we will be having Geraldine from SGInnovate's talent team sharing with us about the program, PowerX program in detail. Jerry, over to you, please.
Yep, thanks, Rina. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And to find out more about making a career switch to cybersecurity or software and product development domains. So to close off today's sharing, I'll share more about what you can expect from the program and how to apply. And if you have any further questions about sharing this evening, do feel free to drop us an email at powerx@sginnovate.com with your questions, and you may also find the address in the Zoom chat here. So to give you an overview of the program, as you see here, the PowerX program is a 12-month traineeship and it's split into 2 phases. So for the first phase, trainees will go through a 6-month structured training program with local institutes of higher learning, and they'll also complete a capstone project. So at the same time, while having classes, trainees will also get acquainted with the partner company through working on some mini projects. And through the structured training period, trainees will be equipped with the foundation of in-demand skill sets for the respective domains in cybersecurity, as well as software and product development. So following this structured training phase, trainees will be attached to the same partner company for their full-time on-the-job training attachment. And it's during this phase where all trainees will receive industry exposure and guidance from experienced technical mentors in the partner companies. So to the end of the traineeship, trainees will also have potential full-time employment with our partner companies as well. So as you can see here, trainees will be working on exciting projects from our partner companies from a diversity of technology areas. And these are some of our partner companies that are working with us. And to find out more information about their projects, do visit our SGInnovate website, and you can find the links on this screen here. So bit.ly at PXC Run 2 for the cybersecurity track, as well as bit.ly PXSP Run 2 for the software and product development track. So that's all that I have for today's sharing with regards to the PowerX program. Rina, back to you to wrap up the session.
Thank you, Jerry. All right. Thank you, everyone, for your time today. Our time has run out for this evening, so I'm afraid we're going to have to wrap up the event here. Thank you, Shin, David, Kelson, Keith, for joining us this evening. I'm sure our audience had a great time, and I hope this has given everyone a deeper insight to PowerX. If you're interested in signing up for the program, the link is in the chat. If you have any further questions, reach out to us at PowerX at SGInnovate.com. Thank you all and have a great night. And please do fill up the feedback form that we've also sent in the chat link. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for joining.